Really. I just wrapped up editing this Poltergeist episode, so it is rendering as we speak. It is 85% done, so probably the longest episode it has ever taken me to edit. And you guys will see this episode's like very complex, a lot of moving parts, a lot of things going on, so definitely excited for you guys to see this one and get everybody's feedback. So I wanted to jump on here and say hello to all the members and say thank you guys all for your amazing support. So we got some people jumping on here. Let me see if I can pull up. It's easier for me to read the chat. That's right. It's easier for me to read the chat on here versus trying to read it on my phone. Should have probably had this pulled up before. Everybody having a good week, ready for the weekend? For some reason, I just keep thinking it's like later in the week than what it really is. Where is... Hold on a second, I'll bring up chat here in a second. Yeah, I keep thinking it's like Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. But it's only Tuesday, isn't it? There we are. Now I can read the chat. There's the chat. Let's put that on live. Got our mods up in here. Jerry, Rebel, hello. Who else is in here? Aaron's in here. Wish there was a way to just show the chat and not have to see my face on the screen. I'm dressed all warm this morning. It is cold in my house this morning. Yes, Lynette. No. This weekend is the this Friday is the episode that we filmed in South Carolina. Really good episode. It's a longer. The next two episodes are fairly long episodes, so. But then the following week will be the case in Erie, Pennsylvania. Katrina said it's 40 there. It is 32 here in Ohio. We've legit got so much rain the past couple weeks. It is freaking crazy. Good morning, Tammy. Ronald said, yes, it's cold here too. Let's see here. Mary said it's cold inside her house. Joy, thank you for the prayers. Roger, we did not find anything yet with the lost dog. I had seen, my daughter actually keeps track of that Facebook page that the family made. I believe the dog was spotted in like a wooded area. I was thinking Duke and I may go out and look today. I'm just not quite for sure if I'll have time, but we may go out and drive around. Rebel, we did not get any snow. Don said it's 55 in Colorado. That's pretty warm for Colorado this time of the year. I wonder if it's supposed to warm up in Ohio. You guys are all getting some pretty nice weather. 75 in South Carolina. You lucky dogs. So yeah, this Friday will be the South Carolina episode, which is really good. We tested out some new theories with the paranormal. I think as a paranormal investigator, you're always researching and just trying to be better investigators and just trying new things. And some things work good and some things are a complete flop. I don't know, the paranormal is weird. Like certain equipment works great at one location and you'll go to another location and it doesn't work at all. Not quite sure what that is. Maybe the different energies and how much energy or what type of haunting you're dealing with. Typically, if you get into like a residual haunting, those are the ones where you don't get a lot of the intelligent communication and setting equipment and stuff off, which a lot of you guys are familiar with the residual hauntings, just like a tape recorder, time and space and is constantly repeating itself. We do run into that sometimes. Although I prefer the intelligent hauntings where you can actually communicate back and forth and get answers. Sonia said, give Duke kisses and on his head, please. Duke is, where is Duke? Duke is being a sleepy boy, if you guys can see. You guys see Duke? Duke, you want to say hi? You being shy this morning? What are you doing? Duke is being, some days Duke is like super cuddly and needs a ton of attention, and other days he's like, just leave me alone, let me sleep. I did give Duke a bath yesterday, so I think that makes him extra tired. 50 in Victoria, British Columbia. Hello, Bethany. So yeah, we were thinking about doing a trip out west and doing the Sally House and the Axe Murder House. If that's something you guys would be interested in seeing, give a thumbs up. Anytime we have any downtime in between like family hauntings, we like to get out and get into places that we've never been before. And those are two locations that we've never been. I know years ago we were going to go to the Sally House, and for whatever reason that just didn't work out. I think if we could make like a long trip out there and hit both locations. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about the Sally House. And we'd actually had somebody reach out to us about the Axe Murder House. Their great-grandmother was actually supposed to go home with that family that morning after church, but for whatever reason didn't. So they wanted to share some of the stories that their great-grandmother had on the history of the house. And anytime we go into a haunted location like that, whether it be the Sally House or the Axe Murder House, we try to always approach it from a different angle because, a lot of those locations have been done every which way you can think. Becky said Sally House would be amazing. Danny wants to know, have we ever been to Octagon Hall? We have never been. I'm assuming that's the one in Kentucky you're referring to. If that's correct, Danny, just give a thumbs up there. Yeah, any location with like a dark history like that, although it's obviously it's sad history, but those are the ones that we typically gravitate towards because you're able to tell a story, along with everything. I feel like this is the most I've ever had members on a live. Normally, when I do a live with the members, it's like 30 or 40 people, so it's nice to see that 311 people are in here. I was actually hoping that video is 88%, so it's probably still got another hour to render. I was going to give you guys a sneak peek. I'll try to post the trailer for Friday night's episode. Thank you so much, Wendy. Wendy Haddock. Had the doggy been found? And can you exercise my 6-year-old? She's having a huge tantrum. She'll learn. She's young. Remember, I raised daughters, so daughters give you from a father's aspect, give you deep insight into the trials and tribulations that women have to face, especially like young girls on a basis and the standards and stuff. So, and I feel like dads always give like their daughters a break with being mouthy and back talk and all that stuff. Yes, Sherry, we did see that Casper Site did another episode. I watched part of it last night before I went to sleep. He always does a great job. Josh, do you have the gift of discernment? I have to admit, I'm not quite for sure what that word means. Some words just go over my head. Yeah, Lynette was talking about the case that we did in Erie, Pennsylvania with the poltergeist activity. Dude, I'm telling you, that place was so heavy. Which you guys will see when the episode comes out. I'm hoping to have that on Patreon here pretty soon, but it's just crazy the range of emotions that you feel when you get inside of a place like that. Like 1 minute you're just angry, and then the next minute you're sad. So I don't know. It was definitely, it's a very complex case. I'm definitely looking forward to getting your guys' feedback. Linda wants to know, when will you guys be back in Indiana? Not quite for sure. I know we're heading to Michigan this weekend to work with the family. We were just down in Cincinnati and worked with the family. After that, I have to make a quick trip to Tennessee. And then I think we're going to Virginia. I feel like we have a case in Indiana, but it's not scheduled, like set in stone yet. Yes, the next, Crystal asks, is the episodes longer? The next 2 episodes are longer. Really, everything, as far as the longer episodes, it really just depends on the amount of activity we have during the investigation, because obviously you want the investigation to flow. That way people enjoy it. And we always try to put out enjoyable content. Some locations you go to, you just don't get a lot of activity. And other places you go to, you get so much and then you're trying to fit it in. That's the one reason the next couple episodes are fairly longer, is just because the amount of activity that we've gotten. And then we've always tried to, like, if you go back even 4 years ago, you know, our interviews were always like 15 minutes long, and then just people just did not like the long interviews. So we've always tried to cut down interviews and try to keep them like under 9 minutes. Lady, what is that? I'm not even going to try to pronounce the last name, but she said, "Morning, Josh. Question: how does your family and families of your brothers feel about what you guys do?" They've always been super supportive. Um, like our kids, they've not known us when we weren't doing the paranormal. So we were doing ghost hunting and all that stuff prior to having kids. So that's like the only thing our kids have always known is us doing the paranormal. We started YouTube back in 2004 when YouTube first came out. We were one of the original paranormal groups on YouTube at the time. Obviously, now there's thousands and thousands and thousands of paranormal groups on YouTube. So it's definitely been an adjustment how YouTube has changed over the years as far as how people consume their content. Before you could get away with like short term content or short form content. Sorry, I need more coffee. And now, people enjoy the longer form content. So, and plus, there's just, like I said, there's just so much out there for people to watch as far as people that are into the paranormal. Um, Used to be just watch stuff on TV, whether it been like Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, Paranormal State. Paranormal State was always one of our favorite shows. Um, I remember early on when we were learning about the paranormal and getting into investigating, we literally knew nothing about how to investigate, what to look for, how equipment worked. And even back then, there wasn't a whole lot of equipment to use when you're investigating. And then obviously, we knew nothing about editing episodes and stuff like that. So it's just been a learning process for us over the years. And Paranormal State was one of the shows that I always turned to um, as far as learning how to communicate with the spirits. And that was one show that always resonated with me because they did a lot of family hauntings. So, and if you look back at some of our early episodes, a lot of people always compared us to Paranormal State. And that's probably just because that's one of our favorite shows and where we learned a lot of our techniques and just how to interact with the spirits. Always being respectful. I love the way that they edited the show. Um, so to me, that was just always one of my favorite paranormal shows. Milan wants to know, Josh, all of your cases public or do some of them not land on YouTube? We do have certain cases that do not make it to YouTube just because, one, the place wasn't haunted. We didn't document any activity. Um, so yeah, we do a better job now of trying to um, pick the cases with a lot of the families nowadays with home security and cell phones. We can see a lot of evidence before we ever step foot on the property. And you guys know, if you've been following us for a long time, some cases are like super active, and then other cases are on the boring side. And that happens, is you get into some place and it's just not active at all. Savannah said Paranormal State was the first time I found you guys. Good morning, Colleen. Yeah, we want to do some international cases. I'm working on getting my passport. I believe Sean and Rocky have their passports. I've just been extremely lazy as far as the whole passport process. Jackie said, I loved Paranormal State until I started watching you guys and became hooked. You guys are the best out there. Thank you so much, Jackie. And I think you can always watch other teams and, have your favorite shows and all that stuff. The thing about my brothers and I, we just always try to stay in our lane. Our main focus is always helping the families and then providing good, honest content for you guys to watch, and just hopefully that you guys enjoy it. Angie said, come to Australia. We would love to come to Australia. I feel like if I go to Australia, I want to go like during the hottest part of the year, because I love summer. I love the heat, the humidity. So if I come to Australia, I definitely want to pick the hot, dry season. Oh, I don't want to click that. I start clicking shit, I'll automatically time you guys out. Felicia wants to know, have we ever come to North Carolina? We have been to North Carolina. We just drove through North Carolina a couple weeks ago. You guys see Duke back there? Duke's definitely bored today. Susan from Kissimmee, Florida. I have never been there. Lucy wants to know if we ever had an attachment. Yes, we've had attachments over the years. A couple have been like super severe, and then other ones are fairly mild. The biggest thing that we deal with after like a super intense case, that's more of the oppressive case, is you deal with depression afterwards. And that's something that we've always dealt with ever since we got into the paranormal, is you'll have bouts of depression. And so there's times where you'll see that we'll just go completely dark and not be on social media or anything like that. And it's just, you try to, when that happens, you try to unplug yourself from social media, anything paranormal related, comments, anything like that, and just go out and reset your mind, do something other than anything paranormal. So I would think the hardest thing for us is definitely the depression that we run into. Ed, we did not find the dog yet. The good thing is they're still spotting the dog around town, but this dog is definitely super sneaky. Bob will probably never get a motorhome. That's my guess. We went from driving beat up SUVs for 15 years to upgrading ourselves to a minivan, so we'll probably never get to the motorhome stage. Scott wants to know, has anything evil ever touched you? Yes, we've been touched multiple times on investigations. There's a couple that stick out with me. I remember the one time, some of this is back on like our old channel, is we were investigating the Crump Theater over in Columbus, Indiana, I think it was. And I remember I walked into the women's bathroom and Rocky was behind me filming. I'd said something and I felt like something smacked me right across my face. And on the video, which we didn't notice it at the time, but when we went back and watched the video, the alarm that I'm holding goes off the exact same time I get smacked, and there's like a red handprint across my face. So occasionally you do get touched. Actually, I was touched last weekend. Yeah, I got touched last weekend. I won't tell you where I got touched, but you'll see it in the episode. And what was freaky is it was a incubus, succubus case. So definitely something I couldn't explain. And definitely creepy. I don't like being touched. You would think as like a paranormal investigator, you won't have those experiences, but I would much rather the spirits just communicate with us rather than touch us. Because I always feel like that's when you get the attachments, is when things like touch you, or you go through like that static electricity. I almost feel like that's when the spirits try to attach themselves to you. Gina said she got punched in the back and knocked to the floor. I've seen people. We were doing an event out in Peoria, Illinois, several years ago. We used to do public investigations. And this one public investigation was at this old asylum or like tuberculosis hospital. And I think like 250 people bought tickets and showed up for the investigation. And I remember there was these three young girls, probably college age. And, they were being real dramatic, and if you're real, they were skeptical, and they were like taunting the ghost like all night long. And they kept saying, "If you're really in here, touch me." And partway through the night, we're all down in the basement. And there's probably 30 people down in this basement. And one of the girls that was egging on these spirits, something grabbed her jacket and just ripped her to the ground. These girls all started screaming, took off running out of the building, got in their car and left. So we've seen people, be attacked and stuff by spirits. So that's when you learn, don't provoke spirits, because you never know what could happen. Yeah, that's one night that those girls will probably never forget, is having that experience. And they went from a skeptic to a believer real quick. Betsy says, let me get back here. Betsy says, saw my first ghost last week, never saw a ghost before, caught me totally off guard. It was at a nursing home. Betsy, that is nursing homes. I feel like for whatever reason, like nursing homes and hospitals are like the most haunted places ever. If you talk to like nurses and stuff, I bet every nurse has had a paranormal experience. Or if you spent any time in a hospital, say had surgery and you were in the hospital in like recovery for a week, you experienced strange things. And I remember I was at a nursing home because I do floor work. So I was at a nursing home one night doing some floors, and I was waiting on this one particular floor to dry. It was probably 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just sitting off in this hallway, and all of a sudden this little old lady like wills herself out of this room, and she can barely sit up, so she's all hunched over, and she's like slowly willing herself down towards me. And you gotta picture this in your mind: a dark nursing home hallway. I'm sitting there all by myself. This lady is slowly willing herself down. And she gets about halfway down the hallway. And I went to move one of the fans, came back and sat back down because I was thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do when this lady gets down here. And then she was not there. Now, was that paranormal or not? I don't know. But there's no way that as slow as this lady was willing herself down the hallway, there's no way that she could have turned around and went back, because I was literally gone for 10 seconds tops. So that was one of my creepy nursing home experiences. Thank you, Tammy, for your donation. Let me see what Tammy said here. I apologize, Tammy. My thing. Let's get back to Tammy. What was the strongest demon you ever encountered? I would say that Richard's case, which I believe is Demon House 3, you can find on YouTube. That's probably the strongest demon we've ever faced, because that case literally affected everybody that was involved. There was a filmmaker out of Indianapolis that wanted to go with us just to shoot a small documentary, and he contacted us and said, "Hey, do you guys mind if I come along and shoot this documentary with you?" And I said, "That's fine." So we're filming our episode, and then he's filming his documentary, and even he was affected. And I think he was a believer, but still skeptical. But even after that case, he was affected. Thank you so much, Piper April, for the donation. Says, hello, Josh. Piper loves you all, and I do love your series. Will 2024 have more Chasing Evil? We do want to get back out, and we are working behind the scenes to get Chasing Evil cases scheduled. So yeah, we are working with the Chasing Evil. It's just the problem is we get so busy with the family hauntings, and those are the cases that I like really hate making people wait. Because if a family reaches out and they have all this crazy stuff going on and feel that themselves or their children are in danger, we try to always get on those as fast as possible. And then the whole editing process, trying to get content out to you guys, consumes a lot of our time. Yeah, definitely Chasing Evil, we want to make time for. I've just got to find a way. I want to find a way that it works. Because what happens, like YouTube, is if you're not constantly putting out content on a regular basis, people tend to forget about you. And then you have to, so that's more of like the behind the scenes stuff, is just trying to find the time. And then when we get so backed up, if we have to tell families, well, it's going to be a month, it's going to be 2 months, then I always feel bad because, if the families are in danger, saying, yeah, we'll come help, but it'll be 2 months from now. As a person, that just always makes me feel bad, if that makes sense. We got a lot of people in here that's worked at nursing homes and hospitals who have had experiences. I'd read a survey one time where 70% of people surveyed have had a paranormal experience. Megan, we will be coming through West Virginia sometime soon. It's like we always end up in West Virginia. That's another thing we want to try to do this year and plus we'll try to work it out with you guys, is if we can get out and do more public events and, just see a lot of you guys in person. I know last year we did a few and got to meet a lot of amazing people, and we want to try to do that this year. Even if it's coming to, a town and just hanging out at a mall or something like that, just a place that we can all hang out and meet and spend some time together. We definitely want to do that this year. Carmen wants to know, have you ever thought about going to Amityville? We have. Obviously, that's one of the... I don't know that anybody has been in that house to investigate besides the Warrens. As far as I know, none of the big shows like Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, nobody's ever been in. And I know that place, like even if you're outside taking pictures or just hanging out, they will call the cops on you. But yeah, if we could ever get into that place, that would be like... Amityville would be like the holy grail of the paranormal. Krista, we would like to do the Conjuring House. That'd be another good one. I apologize. I'm trying to read some of your guys' comments here. Cheryl wants to know, will you ever come to Texas? Lots of haunted places here. Yes, we do want to come to Texas. Anna wants to know, have you ever investigated any location where nothing paranormal happened? Yes. When you have to remember too, like when you watch the episode, like say like if we go to a family haunting, we get there, we meet the family, of course you spend, 45 minutes setting up all the cameras, lights, and getting ready to shoot the interview. Typically, we'll spend an hour, I would say on average, an hour for each interview. Some interviews go 2 hours, and then you shoot the walkthrough, which is fairly fast. You can do that within 15, 20 minutes. So I would say with like each paranormal case, like when we go to somebody's house, we're there 8, 9 hours probably. In that 8 or 9 hours, if you were to break all the experiences you had down, it would probably be not even 2 minutes worth of experiences. And that's a place that's fairly active. There's other times you get in and you'll spend 8 or 9 hours, you won't have any experiences. And then the other ones, you'll have a handful of experiences. So yeah, every case is different. That's the one thing I really like about family hauntings is you're always going into a different environment. Where like if Waverly Hills, you've watched so many episodes on that, so you're subconsciously thinking, okay, well, so-and-so had this experience up here with Timmy, and then you don't have that experience with Timmy. So family hauntings, you just never know what you're getting into. Is one reason we really like those. And plus with us, the family hauntings just, there's more of a meaning as far as the investigating goes. Because you're going in, you're investigating with a purpose. You're not just investigating to make content. You go into a haunted location, you're basically there to investigate, have these personal experiences, hopefully document some paranormal activity. But at the end of the day, that's all you're doing. There's really no meaning to it. So it's not like you're trying to provide answers to somebody or help somebody. And that's the thing that really drives us, is just being able to help people and providing answers to them, regardless if their place is haunted or not. Or if I go into a family haunting and we don't document any activity, I'm not disappointed at the end of the night. One, I'm happy that there is no activity there, but we can at least tell the family, okay, this is what we documented. There's no demon running around your house. And with the haunted locations, you basically go in, investigate, and go home. And it's fun as an investigator, and people that enjoy investigating locations, it's just fun to go out and have those personal experiences. Highlander Girl, thank you very much. Hope this helps you all. Yes, it does help. Well, good morning. You decide to get up, sleepyhead? Oh, who's that doggy on TV? Oh, who is that? Before I was so interrupted by Dookie, thank you, Highlander Girl. Let's get back down here to some comments. 467 people. You guys are setting a record today. Maybe this is a good time to go live on the membership this time of the day. I know, buddy. You want attention. I know. I gotta give these people attention too. You can't have all my attention. They want to talk to me too. Thank you, Cheryl. I love the show and how you help people. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Can you guys tell Duke got a bath yesterday? Josh, people are asking about Bree. As far as I know, occasionally, I don't know if Bree gets on the chat or not, but I know her parents do. And as far as I know, the family's doing good. I know a few people have asked about Cheryl. I actually just got a message from Cheryl over the weekend when we were out filming. And apparently Cheryl is trying to communicate back and forth with the spirits again, which I'm very disappointed about. Some of these cases are super tricky. Like I don't blame Cheryl for wanting to communicate with the spirits, because Cheryl is very isolated and alone a lot of the time. So when she has this activity and stuff going on, I'm trying to think how to put that. It brings her attention and lets her not feel so alone. So I definitely get that part. I try to always put myself in the situation of the homeowners, but it's just very frustrating because we've told Cheryl, many times, if you ever just need to talk or something's going on, you can always reach out to us, even if it's not like paranormal related. We genuinely do care about people and, want to see everybody happy. But yeah, somebody said she's lonely. And that's what I think is, they get lonely because during this time where they're communicating with the spirits and they're having all this stuff go on, people are trying to help them. So they've got this network of people that they can communicate with. And then once the haunting's gone, well, obviously all these people are gone. And that's one reason that we've tried to always stay engaged with these people is to let them know that they're not alone. We're not just there to film an episode and leave and send you on your way. Any families that we've ever worked with, every one of them will tell you that we respond immediately back to them. We try to stay engaged with them. So yeah, if you guys want, just say a little prayer for Cheryl, and I really hope we don't end up back out at her place, but we'll see. I mean, what do you guys think? Is going back there a dumb idea, or thank you, Garrett. Yeah, any exorcism crosses or anything you can send us. The one of the mods will post the PO box. We greatly appreciate all the gifts. Yes, Yvette, communicating with spirits can be very addicting. I've been doing it for 20 some years. When we take a break from investigating, you miss it. So, I mean, even us as investigators, you become addicted to it, which is not always a good thing. I feel like you have to have it in balance. Ola said, I think the most important thing is the brothers do listen because people find someone who will listen and understand. That is true. And that, what really helps us with that is listening to people, is from our past experiences, going through the haunting that we went through as children. Nobody believed you, nobody would listen to you. It was just go to church, pray to God, ghosts don't exist. There's no such thing as paranormal. So when I go into a family, I want to be as respectful as I can with them, but also be honest about things. I mean, you guys have seen there's been families where we've said, listen, you guys got to knock this stuff off or things are going to get really bad. And plus, I raised 2 daughters, so my listening skills are impeccable. Scott, have you ever battled a demon and felt you lost? Yes. We're not naive enough to believe that we can go out and just fight evil and win every time, or rid somebody's home of spirits. And we tell the homeowners that the first thing we meet them is, before we start the interview is, there's no guarantees in life. There's no guarantees with the paranormal. There's no guarantees we'll document evidence. There's no guarantees that we'll get rid of whatever's haunting your home. But we will try our best. Kathleen, the reason I love the show so much is because you guys care about people and where they stand and don't judge. I agree. And again, that becomes back to, like, even though we went through just a shit ton of bad stuff when we were kids, a lot of people go through bad things. So we never want to feel sorry for ourselves or what we went through. And I'm not just talking about like the paranormal, I'm talking about like the physical and emotional abuse that we went through as kids. That's really helped. I think that those types of experiences can either break you or make you into a better person. And as we got older, we spent maybe 2 or 3 years on the wrong path, with drinking, fighting, all that stuff that young men do. And then once we started having kids, you want to stop that cycle of abuse. So I stopped drinking. I know Rocky doesn't drink. Sean drinks like occasionally, like super occasionally. So that was for us was just stopping that cycle of abuse and just becoming better people, and that way we'd be good role models for our kids, be better parents, and just all in general be a better person. And that's really how when we go into these cases, like if you give me the option, say room A is somebody who has had a shitty life, has zero money, has zero anything to offer me, and then you give me room B, which is somebody, let's say, famous who is rich and has all these connections, I'm always going to take room A. We gravitate towards people who are down on their luck, people who have been to the trenches, people who need somebody to be there for them. Those are the people that we gravitate towards. And that's the one thing is like I can go into Cheryl's house where most people would walk in and be like, oh, hell no, and just leave. Where I go into that situation and I'm comfortable because I'm not there to judge a person, how they live, how they act, what they've done in the past. My job is to go in there as, somebody that's lived this and who has had 20 years of paranormal experiences and just be there for them and offer support. And, so often in today's world, there's just so much negativity out there. And that's easy to do, to be negative towards somebody, but to really show somebody that you really care. And, even if we're only there for them 2 hours, that's 2 hours that they were able to spend with somebody that really cared about who they are and all that stuff. Thank you, Highlander Girl. You need an open mind to start understanding the paranormal. I agree. Susan wants to know, what is the difference between Patreon and members here? Patreon is something we started a couple years ago, maybe. And it's basically the same thing, the setup as the channel membership. We held off on doing the channel membership for a while because we just didn't have time to focus on that. But on Patreon, we post like early access to the episodes before they come out. And I know a lot of people don't want to pay that money just to see a video early, which is fine because you can just wait and see it here on YouTube for free Friday night. But there are those people that enjoy getting it early, and we appreciate everybody on Patreon. And also, you guys, leave us your feedback. If there's anything that we can do to make your experience more enjoyable here on YouTube or Patreon, feel free to always message us and say, hey, can we have this, or can you do this? Because we do appreciate your support. And I know the families, they appreciate your support. So anything that you guys want to see or want us to change or do more of or less of, just always leave your feedback. We are very, very open to speak with. A lot of the people on Patreon will tell you they've made suggestions. Why is Rocky so deadpan expression? Well, you guys are throwing some big words at me this morning. I'm not sure what that means either. Rocky does get scared. Last weekend, you'll get to see, once we get that episode out, that Rocky does get scared. I think we just approach things differently. Like Rocky is, obviously Sean is scared of his own shadow. And so he brings that dynamics, the fear part of it, into the show. I try to be, I think I'm more aggressive with the spirits because, you sit there and you listen to the family for an hour and all the stuff that they're going through. You kind of have this anger towards the spirits. And I try not to be that way, but I'm there to help the family and stand up to the family. And I don't feel that anything that's demonic trying to hurt a family member, especially children, needs to be respected. So I take more of the aggressive approach. And then Rocky is more of the skeptic, debunking type. So I think that's what's helped us over the years have such good investigations is we bring all three different dynamics to the investigation. Who was that? Thank you, Shelly, for your donation. Sean also brings the comical side to the investigations. Betsy wants to know, Josh, what is your opinion on UFOs, grays, and alien abductions? I believe all that stuff is real. I've always believed in UFOs. Now, Bigfoots, stuff like that, I'm not quite as open to, but do I believe that there's possibly Bigfoots out there? Anything's possible. I believe every day new species are being uncovered. Certain animals that we thought were extinct for thousands of years are being uncovered, so everything's possible. UFOs, I definitely believe in. I don't believe that, when God created, why would God create such a huge universe and only put life on one planet? I was talking about, because like my Bible study is not like super in depth, but somebody had made a comment that the Bible mentioned aliens 30 different times. So I was going to research that and see what context it was mentioned in. But also, if you think back, like, I do believe nowadays you have a lot of unidentified objects just because there's so much stuff up in the air as far as drones, weather balloons, spacecraft. But if you look back at like ancient times, even like the Egypt, they had murals and stuff that had these flying saucers and stuff up in space. There's no way they're seeing airplanes. There's no way they're seeing drones, weather balloons. So why were they having these experiences, 1,000 years from before flight or anything? So that always makes it more credible. I believe the Mayans also had hieroglyphs, is that what it's called? Of like spaceships and stuff. What is your take on skinwalkers and shapeshifters? We haven't done a whole lot of skinwalker cases. I think it's just because the area that we're in doesn't have a lot of skinwalker claims. But I definitely believe in that stuff as well. Yeah, that's one thing that somebody mentioned, the Nephilim. Is that how you pronounce that, Nephilim? I was going to research that because on our alien video, I seen so many people mention that. Leanne wants to know, Josh, is there a way to get rid of a residual haunting? Residual hauntings are the hardest hauntings to stop because you're not really dealing with a spirit per se inside your house trying to communicate with you. You're dealing with more of an energy, if that makes sense. And I always try to equate that to, like, say if there was a place that you knew a horrific crime took place. When you go there, you just feel that energy. And those are typically hard to get rid of because it's not like there's a physical spirit or ghost inside your house trying to communicate with you. And that's really the one reason that we do the investigations is typically when a family's haunted, there's a reason. So the investigation is more to say, who are you? Why are you here? And what do you want? And often the spirits have a message, or they're trying to get a message across, or they're just there for evil intentions. And that's why we do the investigation, is to figure out, what do they want? Why are they there? And then we move forward with the cleansing. Josh, do you believe in Illuminati? I think I know what Illuminati means, but I'm not 100% sure. I know, buddy. Tanya, thank you so much. Do you think there are fake ghost hunting channels out there? I think that's been like a topic of discussion. Anytime you put yourself out there, it doesn't even matter if it's like paranormal, but especially paranormal. Paranormal is one thing that you can look at subjectively, and that's how we've always tried to do our investigations. Because like back when we first started investigating, we didn't know what you would have these experiences, but was it paranormal or not? So the only reason we started our original YouTube channel was we were having these experiences, we put it out there on YouTube, and we wanted people's feedback. So like with our investigations, we may hear a loud knock, we may see a shadow, we may have an alarm go off. We don't put that stuff out there as this is 100% proof that this place is haunted. It's 100% proof that the alarm went off. We basically have always put everything out there for you guys to decide. What do you think? And we've always read your comments and wanted your feedback. I believe that there are people out there that fake things. I mean, you can watch TikTok and YouTube and see fake videos. I've always said if it looks too real to be true, then it's probably not real. We've done thousands and thousands of investigations over the years. So we know what to expect. And there's just certain things that, some people may put out there that it's just, that stuff doesn't happen. Now, would I ever come out and say somebody's fake? No, because that's just, the three of us, we stay in our lane. We don't worry about what other people do. The only time I would think I would ever have any thing to say is if they were going into people's homes and then faking evidence. That's like a line too far to cross. But, I think you guys are all, especially like our audience, is you guys understand the paranormal. You know what to look for. I mean, how many of you guys have sent us screenshots of things that you may have seen that we'd missed, or, so it's, everybody's going to watch an investigation and take something different from it. Misty wants to know, Josh, do you believe a person can have their own poltergeist to speak as things explode in the house growing up? I do believe in poltergeist activity. Poltergeist are probably the rarest haunting that we run into. Trying to read some of these. Landorez, is that right? Wanderers 85. I have not heard about them. We don't watch like a whole lot of paranormal on YouTube. I occasionally, as you guys know, I occasionally watch like Ghost Adventures and stuff. Um, and that's just because that's like a show. I definitely enjoy like the old Ghost Adventures versus the new Ghost Adventures, but it's just a paranormal show that I enjoy watching. I do. Alicia wants to know, do I watch other YouTubers? I do occasionally watch other YouTubers. Um, like my attention span is very short. So like even me sitting down and watching a full length movie, sometimes it's hard for me to do. But yeah, I do watch like Paranormal Quest. I enjoy their work. We have Crystal. We've spoken with Ryan from Paranormal State. Spoken with quite a few. We've done events with people from Paranormal State, which is always weird because, to us, we're nobody. We're just three guys from Ohio who go out and help families and investigate. So when you go to these events where we're speaking at and you see other people like people off of Paranormal State and Ghost Adventures, we've done things with them before in the past. It's always strange to us, I guess, because, where we live, where we come from, our background, and then seeing somebody that you grew up watching on TV is always a little bit. I'm not for sure how Ryan's doing. I believe he either moved to Texas or Florida. We are not writing a book yet. That's something we'll probably do when we start to wind down our career here on YouTube. We definitely want to get into other things. We've been doing this for 20 years. I think we can still go strong. We still have a passion for it. I've always said once we lost the passion for it, we'll move on to other things. But, there's things that I would definitely want to work. I want to work with other paranormal groups. As far as like I consider ourselves like your weekend paranormal groups, not like your big YouTube paranormal groups, if that makes sense. Like any of you guys in here that belong to a paranormal group, give a thumbs up. That'll help me better explain this. Is when we first started, we did a lot of investigating with other paranormal groups. They would have 6, 7 people in their group. So that's where our background comes from. Those are the groups that we relate to the best. So I would like to, at some point in my career, go out and highlight those groups all over the country that go out and work with families and do good investigations. Who don't have the exposure like we have or other groups on YouTube. There's just so many good groups out there. And, these groups contact us on a regular basis. And that's the one thing I think we're the most proud of is how respected we are with those types of groups. And that they reach out to us for advice or, whether it be equipment or how to handle investigations or how to help families. The more people we have out there helping these families, things can only be better. So anybody that's got a paranormal group or belong to a paranormal group, that go out and work with families and help families, props to you guys. So hopefully one day I would like to do like a paranormal nightmare, something. We'll have to come up with a catchy name for it. But where we go out, dude, stop. Where we go out, we work with other paranormal groups. Always look forward to watching you guys. We're going to catch a live chat because I moved to Scotland years ago. Somebody's at my front. Duke, okay, quit. I'm not answering the door. Go away. There's like this. There's like this one guy that always comes to our house. Dude, stop. And if you don't answer the door, he gets pissed and starts kicking stuff. Something said my camera's not responding, so he may have kicked my camera. Yeah, Duke is like super, like the friendliest dog you could ever meet, but if somebody tried getting in here, Duke would probably rip them apart. Isn't that silly that as adults, somebody comes to the front door, we're always like hiding, looking through the blinds, seeing who it is, and yep, Kenneth, probably a debt collector. Thing is, there's a huge ass window right behind me so they could see me, but yeah, our Alexis barks or notifies us every time the dogs bark too. Like if I do not know that you're coming to my house, I do not answer my door. Even like Amazon and stuff, it's like just literally leave it outside the door and I'll get it when you leave. Marcy, thank you very much for the donation. First live I've been able to catch. Love all the work that you guys do helping others. Thank you so much, Marcy. I appreciate that. Clay wants to know, Josh, could you please tell me why I keep seeing dark shadows throughout my flat? Could you tell me what you think? It really just depends. I mean, always rule out anything natural first. You know, when you see the dark shadow, was there a car that went by? That's the biggest thing, is just to rule out what is causing it first. Is it something natural or is it paranormal? You know, we always tell the families, you know, especially like after we do the cleansing and stuff, is subconsciously, you know, even though the cleansing may have got rid of the spirit, they may hear a noise and think, oh God, it's back. Because their mind's going to jump straight back to paranormal, everything they hear. And we always tell them to, you know, look for natural causes first. Don't just jump straight to paranormal. So that's what I would say, Clay, is just start off, excuse me, ruling out anything normal and just go from there. Tammy says, what is the black ribbon I saw that was over my father when he died 5 years ago? Tammy, I apologize for your loss. I'm not for sure. I know a lot of people that we've talked to have had, and that's typically when people have most of their paranormal experiences or their first paranormal experience, is when somebody close to them passes away. And I think it's more of them letting us know, you know, I'm okay, I'm at peace, you know, I want you to go on with your life, type of thing. I remember when our grandmother passed away, we had an experience like that. So that just helps us know that, you know, spirits can reach out and communicate with us. And I think once our loved ones die and you have that, you know, confirmation of where they reach out and say, I'm okay, you know, I'm in a good place, I don't believe they ever come back and haunt you. Like a lot of the families we work with, they believe like Uncle Roger is haunting our house. You know, I believe it's always something different. I don't believe any of our family members ever come back to haunt us, if that makes sense. Jen wants to know, Yeah, that's a good thing Jen said is, which I forget the guy's name that asked the question about the dark shadows, is always pay attention to how you feel too when stuff happens. I agree, Marlene, it's not relatives. Angela, no, they do not live there. Measy, we are going to have Chasing Evil probably as soon as the weather breaks. We're going to start filming Chasing Evil. Thank you so much, Natasha, for the donation. Thanks, Josh, for all you guys do helping families. Are you all still considering coming to St. Albans? We are considering coming to St. Albans. Actually, last weekend, I was talking to Rocky about that place. Sean was inside the house by himself investigating. I was talking to Rocky about St. Albans. So yeah, we definitely want to get into St. Albans. I just got to figure out who to contact and how to get something scheduled there. Yeah, when our grandmother passed away, I remember we had left, and you know how like when you're outside, you hear like the ambient noises, cars, birds, whatever. It was like everything went silent, like pure silence, and all you heard was these bells. I don't remember how many bells rung or anything like that, and then everything went back to normal. I don't know if anybody's ever experienced that. Jungo, I may do a video on that. I would hope that channels like that would be actually better at reviewing evidence, but that's not always the case. If anybody goes back and watches that episode, just to put it into context, and I can do a further episode on that. We stay so busy, and I want to stay focused on good, positive things, not trying to disprove anybody or anything like that. I mean, people online are going to say whatever they want to say. That's the one thing you learn when you put yourself out there on social media is you have to have thick skin and, don't worry about people. But if you go back and watch that episode, I'm in the bathroom at the top of the stairs behind the ball. I have a camera in the bathroom with me. So any shadows you see coming from that bathroom or around that ball at that time is just me moving in the bathroom. I mean, you could clearly see it in the video. And you would think that anybody reviewing that stuff could clearly see, okay, Josh is in that bathroom. The bathroom's backlit because I have an IR camera with me. So and it's like literally a split second clip. And then all of a sudden they assume that you're fake, which makes no sense. I mean, just look at the video, see where I'm at. I'm talking in third person, but see where I'm at, and you can clearly see. And that's the one thing a lot of people don't understand is, especially like when we're running our investigations, you'll have IR cameras set up all over the place. So there are certain times where I may see a shadow, Rocky may see a shadow, and then we're able to go back and watch the footage, and you can see if you have a light behind you, you're going to cast shadows forward. So we're able to, Tucker, hold on one second. Tucker, get away from his food. Tucker. Get away from his food. Sorry, Tucker was eating Duke's breakfast. Yeah, so all that is, and I've reached out to those guys, and I always tell those guys, if there's a question about a piece of evidence, just reach out to us. We're like the most accommodating, easiest people to talk to, and just, they take things out of context, and, just to try to make somebody look bad, I guess. But watch the video, you can clearly see, like if you go up the stairs, straight up the stairs of the bathroom, and I'm on the tub, which is the far side of the bathroom, running a spirit box session. So anytime I move my legs or move my arm or readjust my body, it's going to cast a shadow out towards that ball. That was not even, that was like 20 or 30 minutes after the ball was kicked down the steps when all that happened. So you would just think that people could look at that and see that's just Josh's shadow. Thank you, Tammy, and I agree. I just have an issue with, taking one, I mean, it's literally like a second clip. And the reason we don't point that stuff out as shadows is because we know, maybe the IR light is casting shadows. And so it's not even something that we even pointed out as paranormal. But supposedly, Sean was upstairs causing shadows. And that's another thing that's frustrating is because when you're there during the investigation, you know how things went down. You know where everybody's at. You know what you experienced. Like we've been doing this 20 years. Like we have no reason to fake anything or lie to anybody. I mean, hell, there's stuff that you guys pointed out that we missed. There's times that people send us messages saying, I caught this, and we were able to say, no, that was, Rocky in a mirror, or that was Sean's arm moving. The best thing for any paranormal group out there to do is film everything, put it out there, and just let people decide for their own. And that's where we're lucky is like all of our viewers are so good at picking up on stuff, investigations. Like you guys can watch an investigation and see, okay, is that real or fake? I mean, you guys aren't stupid. And that's just the way we've approached it is, this is what we heard, this is what we experienced, you guys decide. So yeah, I would say for that one piece of evidence, it's extremely taken out of context. And if you watch the video, you can clearly see where I'm sitting. And because I have a light in there with me, I'm casting shadows. That's why shadows are so hard when you're running night vision and stuff. And it's so important to know, where everybody's standing and all that stuff. Angel, yes, we will go to other countries to investigate. I'm waiting on my passport still. Thank you so much, Sharon. And that's like super important to us is, we appreciate you guys. You guys have always kept us humble and true to ourselves and kept us honest. And that's, so we respect that from you guys. And we see that you guys have our backs and all that stuff in comments if somebody says something negative about us. And that's the one thing that we've always proud of with you guys is we consider you guys just as important to what we do as us. And having your guys' friendship and knowing that you're there to have our back, and it really does mean a lot to us. And that's the one thing that we've always tried to get across to you guys, and hopefully you guys understand that is how much we do appreciate you guys. Like I've always said, we're three guys from the middle of Ohio. We grew up with nothing. We have no expectations. We never expected to be doing this for 20 years and have such a positive following. So we do, believe it or not, in school we were bullied a lot too. So, we have thick skin. So there's nothing that nobody's going to say about us that we haven't heard already or we haven't been through. And that just goes back to your childhood, just having thick skin and, when you are hurt the worst by people you love, and then I guess people just they can't hurt you anymore, if that makes sense. Peanuts, you are the truest paranormal group I've never seen anything false, pretend actions, 100% real. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're glad that you guys see that. I mean, you guys have seen, we have crazy investigations. We have investigations that are boring as hell. And I know that because I edit the investigations and I'm always thinking, okay, this investigation is boring as hell. People are going to hate this, but you put it out there anyhow. I mean, not every case is going to be crazy active. So if you have every case that is crazy active, then you have to think, why is every case crazy active? And I have no problem with anybody looking at our evidence and scrutinizing it or giving their thoughts on it. I just have a problem with people taking evidence out of context and fitting certain clips and certain portions of video to fit their theory. I feel like it's very misleading and dishonest. Now, Tucker's got to pee. Hold on, Tucker. I'm coming, buddy. So, yeah, I'm going to feed the dog some lunch and take Tucker pee because he'll sit in there and cry. Thank you, Jungo. Thank you so much. It took our parents probably about a year before things got super bad, before they started believing in it. But you guys all have a great day. We'll go live at some point this weekend. So you guys can talk to Rocky and Sean. Thank you guys all for your amazing support. You guys are the best. And everybody have a good, safe rest of your week. Team Nightmare out. Thank you guys.